Ooh, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. This is actually not gonna be the tutorial. This is gonna be a tiers list video. I'm gonna be ranking the best Waves plugins for vocals. So let's not waste no time. If you guys like this new format that I'm doing, in the comments down below, let me know. You want to support the channel? Well, check the links, and in the comments, let me know what you think. So let's get to it right now. Let me explain the tiers. The first one at the top is going to be mix and master. These are usually the best plugins that end up on the actual final mix. Then we have rough mix, which is a step below. These are the plugins that usually end up on the demo. Then we have template, things that don't really end up on the bounce, but they're in our template. They're kind of like good enough for you to start with. Then we've got the debatable. Okay, let me spell that right. Debatable, which is like, okay, I haven't really been using this plugin. I might freak around and delete the thing. Then we got delete, 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 delete. These are the plugins that no, we don't want them. You feel me? We just don't want them. We don't use them. And there's just way better options out there. So let's start with the very first thing. Let's go with the CLA 76. At the very top, I gotta show love to the CLA 76. I call this plugin the Black Air Forces, or pretty much like Air Force shoes. You got the black mode, which is gritty, and then you got the blue face mode, which is still gritty too, just like Air Force shoes. Air Force shoes are street shoes, but they just have a great way. I love to use it as a quick parallel compressor and things to get my vocals to stand up forward. All right, and after that, let's use the H delay. The H delay is definitely good enough for the template. A lot of times I find it good because it's very straightforward. When you're building a template, you want quick plugins that just give you what you need. They give you what you need: a basic delay, a basic reverb, and then once you're finished recording, then you start to add more sauce. Then you start to maybe use like a crazy Manny delay or Valhalla delay or stuff like that. So it's good enough for the template. Then with S1 stereo imager, I'm putting that in the debatable. There's way better stereo imagers than that, like OZONE imager, the JST stereo spreader. There's way better stuff in that, especially on the mix bus. The S1 stereo imager makes the mix. If you put it on your mix bus, your master fader 2-track beat, because it's using phase, it makes the mix feel a little bit softer. I kind of compare it to muscle, right? It's like muscle and fat. When you throw on the S1 stereo imager in your mix bus, it kind of feels more flabby, kind of feels more out of shape, right? You lose some of that density, okay? And then we're gonna go with RVOX. RVOX definitely ended up on rough mix. Sometimes it ends up on the mix and master, but it's a great plugin to use at the end as a vocal finisher, as that compressor has that low mid density area that makes things feel nice and tubby and full. Then we're gonna have the Waves de-esser, and that's going in the delete, 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 delete. Delete that plugin, bruh. Nowadays I use Weiss de-esser. Yeah, I use Weiss de-esser. It's a mastering grade de-esser. That Weiss de-esser Split S is another great plugin to get rid of harshness. And the UAD Precision de-esser. Those are mastering grade de-essers, except for the Split S, and they just maintain more of the fidelity, like a Polaroid camera. One was made in 2020. The other Polaroid camera was made in 1950. Which one you think is going to be able to preserve more of that detail and that nice, good imagery that we want, that clarity and that detail we want? It ain't gonna be a goddamn Waves de-esser. And while we're at it, we're gonna also throw in the Renaissance de-esser into the delete, 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 delete. All right. So let me know your opinion down below of how some of this stuff. All right, if you guys think that I'm wrong about this, how your opinion. Then we have the Waves real time. I love that plugin. It's the best auto tune plugin to me. It's very versatile. It sounds natural. I usually keep more than one auto tune plugin because all the different tuning plugins tune differently, so the nuances, the little squeaks and stuff like that sound a little bit different. So it's good to have more than one tuning plugin. For the Wave Silk Vocal, that's gonna go in debatable. There's better plugins than Wave Silk Vocal. It's literally like a Dollar Tree Soothe plugin. I don't like how it sounds all the time. I use it on the templates. It's good enough for the templates, but it falls a hair below that. You know what I mean? Because there's just better options like Spiff, Ozone Stabilizer. All right. So then we're gonna have the Wave Studio Rack. Wave Studio Rack gotta go to the top. It's the best rapper plugin everywhere. Not rapper like Jay-Z, but the rapper plugin that lets you put different plugins inside of one plugin. You get to also scan your VST3 plugins, and you could start assigning the macros and the knobs. And now you can start linking knobs for two different plugins that were not made by the same manufacturer. So I think it's amazing. Another reason why I use Studio Rack is because it lets me jump from DAW to DAW to DAW. Let's see if I made like a song in FL Studio, right? And I use Studio Rack, which I always use. And then what happens is I'm like, okay, I want to move this to Pro Tools. Well, those are two different DAWs. So what I'll do is I'll just bounce out the raw vocals out of FL Studio, then I'll save the Studio Rack preset, and then when I dump it into Pro Tools, everything's already there because all of the plugin presets and stuff was already saved in Studio Rack. So that's why I use Studio Rack like crazy. All right, and REQ, we're gonna put that in debatable. There's FabFilter nowadays. We don't really need that plugin. Even the F6, I think FabFilter is just a better sounding plugin when it comes to the linear phase, the zero latency mode, and the normal phase or whatever. It's just better to me. It's just more intuitive and just everything is there. So with the next one, let's go with C6. For me, C6 always ends up on the mix and master. Always that pop vocal preset on the C4 or the C6 is just the best to me. The way it opens up the mid range, and then on the C6 you got the free floating bands that can let you go in there and notch a frequency, and you get to control the attack and release and control that nasty frequency the way you want, rather than on a typical frequency sweep. For the Aphex Vintage Oral Exciter, that's going in debatable. Man, there's so many other better plugins to give us high end, such as a Fresh Air, such as Mag EQ, such as using a saturator like Spectre or Ozone Exciter and exciting the top end like that. I think that this plugin reminds me of Pollution, because it's like the byproduct, like when people like burn fossil fuels for electricity and shit, there's like byproduct, there's like waste and waste material. And for me, that's what Aphex Vintage Oral Exciter is. It's just shit. It's just shit in the sense that it makes the vocals brighter, but then it adds all this distortion and all this grit that to me doesn't sound cool. The only time I might use it is on a reverb when I want like a shimmering Tory Lanez reverb. Yeah. So the definitely CLA vocals is good enough for the rough mix. It reminds me of Lunchables. You know how Lunchables, when you was in elementary school, it got that cracker, it got that piece of ham, it got the cheese, and it's just a complete package of taste. And that's what the CLA vocals are. They got the EQ, you got the reverb, you got the delay, you got the spreader, and there's other plugins that try to do what CLA vocals do, but they don't do it right because the flavors of the CLA vocal is so cohesive that it just makes the perfect snack of Lunchables. Okay, SSL bus compressor, that's gonna have to go into the debatable. We're talking about vocals here. I don't like how it rounds off the top end. It's a VCA compressor. Those don't typically work on vocals unless it's the SSLE channel strip, which is good enough for the template. We'll put that there. You got your basic EQ, your filters can be used in the beginning or the end of a vocal chain. It's very versatile in terms of mixing instruments on a full mix, so that's definitely good enough for the template. um NS1 bus, that's going into debatable. I feel like a lot of things are going into debatable. I hardly use NS1 because we have the Clarity plugin from Waves, which is good enough for the rough mix. But these two plugins in general, noise suppressing plugins, are not. The technology isn't perfectly there. The best thing to do if you want a quiet, noise, a quiet recording, is to record in a quiet room. So I think that's something that you can do to help yourself more than these plugins could ever help you. So yeah, those two will go there. Fairchild is good enough for the rough mix. I use it a lot of times because of the saturation component of the transformer, the big booty transformer popping out the jeans, and then the pretty face top end with the tubes. I just like to run it flat right through the mix bus, and it just gives a beautiful sense of just thickness and more warmth, So after that, the pull tech is definitely hitting rough mix. Those are usually on the master faders, and I like the pull tech on vocals too. Just maybe like a 10K boost, or it's just a very broad EQ. It's great for 808s and kicks. I use it constantly on 808s and kicks, so it's perfect for the rough mix. We also have what else will we got here? Oh, then I'm gonna throw NLS bus right into the delete. There's so many better saturators than NLS bus, bruh. It's so many better saturators like Toupe, Spectre, Ozone Exciter. And then the thing about NLS bus is it has this thing where you start using it on a bunch of tracks. Now it starts messing with your stereo imaging. It's a cool plugin, maybe used sparsely, but I find myself never using it, and it's got to go to delete for me. It's without a question. It's delete. Waves. Waves Shep 73. Shep 73 is pretty good. It's a nice warm analog channel strip. Kind of gives us a different change of pace from the SSLE channel strip, which is, it feels more modern type of sounding, more neutral sounding, especially compared to the plug-in alliance stuff. So the Sheps 73 is definitely hitting the template. It's good enough for the template. I like to use the preamp section most importantly to maybe generate distortion, maybe push a little bit into it, and it's good for smooth vocals. So sometimes you do need a channel strip that's good for smooth vocals and some that's good for some more neutral like the SSL. All right. SSL EV2, that will also be in the template. Sometimes they can get switched out, but I like the addition of the preamp section, the new mic pre that they added in there. That was also an important part of the SSL, so for me, that's great. Okay, then we got Brower's Motion that definitely ends up on a lot of rough mixes. It's great for the ad libs. You get to control independently the speed of the left right panning and then the circular panning. And speaking of panning, Mondo Mod is definitely up there. I like to use Mondo Mod when there's a busy ass mix and there's a lot of stuff going on. So the stock preset has it like to where this is the range. Then I'll take it. I think I go to range or offset or something like that, and I spin it around. So it's the perfect thing to make ad libs or vocals in the back, and that creates more space in the mix, because a lot of times we think left right, we think front, but there's also some space behind you, you know. And that's what I like about that plugin. Use like a phase type of smearing thing. All right. And then we have the Shep 73. That's definitely going to end up in the template. Not Shep 73, Shep's Omni channel. That's definitely ended up in the template. That's a great plugin. That's a great plugin that gives a lot of versatility on the front end. You know, with that the preamp section is just good. You get so much flavors. You get jalapeno, you get spicy Cheetos, you get Ritz. You feel me? You get you get the spicy pepper. You get bell pepper, red bell pepper, green bell pepper. You feel me? You're getting all these different type of flavors. You're getting all these different type of flavors with Shep's Omni channel. So that's why it's going into the template. That's great when you're just recording and you're just trying to get some in there. You know, the API 2500. I'm putting that in debatable. I don't really ever use it on a vocal. VCA compressors don't work too well on vocals, unless it's the SSLE compressor part. But yeah, I'm just throwing that in debatable. That's not really good. And we're gonna go with delete, 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 delete for the vitamin. There's so many better saturators than that plugin. You got it. You can't. You got to be kidding me. This is not 2005. You don't need to use Waves Vitamin anymore. Like, nah. I think that plugin. I never liked the sound of it. It doesn't have enough versatility, and I think it's trying to be like a multi-band stereo imager at this when like you ain't even good at being a saturator. So that's going into the delete, 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 delete. You feel me? CLA 2A definitely going there and for the template. Perfect using the CLA 2A when you want to just, you know, round off a vocal, get it to be smooth and controlled. We got Metaflanger. Metaflanger is really good. It ends up in the rough mixes a lot, but I'm actually throw it in template. It's just a perfect stock Metaflanger. Flanger when you want to throw that on a quick reverb, throw that on a quick delay, kind of get like a, you know, effect going on. Then when you finish recording, you might possibly change it for something that has a little bit more of modern sound, some that's a little bit more cleaner or maybe more features or something like that along the lines. Waves MV2 has definitely got to go into the mix and master. That plugin is incredible. Low level enhancement. The only other plugin that can do something like that is the upwards compressor section in the ozone maximizer. And it's been like, how many years that plugin been around doing something that no other plugin can do? That's definitely going in the mix and master. And you can use it on 808s. You can use it to just squeeze that last bit of lemon pulp out of the vocal. You feel me? You can use it like that. So that's a great thing too. And then Kramer tape, we'll throw that on template. It's always good to have a tape plug-in. J37 tape, yeah, that's usually on the template. They're both interchangeable, and they're pretty good for the template. L2, I'm definitely throwing that in the rough mix. It's perfect to just squeeze rap vocals, just like how I said about the MV2. The limiter just ever so slightly squeezing rap vocals, but it also integrates a little bit of that digital distortion and that dithering inside of that L2, helps vocals get a lot of presence. Just slap on a vocal with an L2 at the end, and I'm telling you, just only pinch it like a DB, like your grandma would pinch your cheeks when she ain't seen you in 5 years. She pinch your cheeks, you feel me? And then, you know, it will make the vocal feel a little bit better. Vocal writer, vocal writer is going to go into template. Yeah, Vocal Writer is good enough to go in the template because it has a use case. You know, maybe you're recording all over the place. You don't want to just start clipping down everything to get it even, which is what I would really recommend. This is a great plugin right here. If you have like a really volatile voice, you know, or you don't really know how to record yet, you maybe throw that on at the beginning of the vocal chain, so the vocal going into the chain is even like an assembly line that's properly functioning. The Abbey Roads TG, Abbey Roads mastering chain, that's gonna go in debatable. It's good. It's good, but it has a VCA compressor. The EQ doesn't really let you go in as much, even though I know that's not the point. But it kind of feels discombobulated. I oftentimes find myself only using one section of this plugin rather than the whole thing. And then with the API 2500, we're gonna go on the rough mix. It's pretty good because it's a modern type of EQ and everything like that. So you know, it works very well. It works very well on a lot of rap music nowadays. So this is pretty much the end of the video here today, you know. So yeah, this is my first time doing a tiers list video. We might possibly do an update. We might do more ideas. Drop it down below. I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Let me know down below, should I do more plugins, less plugins? Give me some feedback on this style video. Appreciate you now a lot, guys. Peace.